Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the 2022 School District of Niagara Veterans Day program. Thank you all for coming today. I'm Andar Olson and I'll be the MC of today's program. Veterans Day is intended to thank and honor all those who served honorably in the military, both living and dead, whether in wartime or peace. It is of local belief that Niagara's Veterans Day program was started after World War II, when the Legion Post came to our school to talk with the students of Veterans Day. This year, we proudly recognize the 100th anniversary of Niagara's American Legion Post 136. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise, remove your caps, and place your hand over your heart for the presentation of the colors, followed by the playing of the national anthem by the Niagara Middle and High School Band under the direction of Ms. Kim Yeager. Color guard, please post the colors. Thank you. You may be seated. The elementary students will now perform the song, "Thank You, Soldiers." Thank you, elementary. The kindergarten, under the direction of Mrs. Dollar and Mrs. Steinbrecher, will now perform This Land is Your Land.
This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled and followed my footsteps through sparkling sands of fair diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. When sun comes shining and I was strolling, and wheat fields waving and dust clouds rolling, as fog was lifting, a voice was chanting. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me.
Thank you, kindergarten. Next up, students from Mrs. Santoni and Mrs. Champagne's first grade class will be reciting poems. The first is Honor You, read by Walker Newens and Stanley Burroughs, followed by Freedom.
We honor the soldiers who stand up and fight for all that is good and all that is right, for all that is fair and all that is true, for for all that is honest and loyal to. We honor them for their sacrifice so we can have an amazing life. Happy Veterans Day!
Another poem, or is that? Thank you, first graders. Next will be Mrs. Pip and Mrs. Wood's second grade class singing Grand Ole Flag. Thank you, second graders. Today, we are honored to have a special guest speaker, Niagara graduate Major Jacob Breuer, an Air Force pilot. He is the son of Jerry and Paula Breuer. Major Breuer was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross with Sea Device and General P.K. Carleton Award for Valor. He flies the MC-138 Talon II, also known as the Chariot of Armageddon, and the UV-18B's Twin Otter. He is presently in the 98 Flying Squadron and is a member of the Air Force Parachute Team, the Wings of Blue. Please join me in welcoming Major Boyer.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here today. I am Major Jacob Breuer. I was raised here and graduated from Niagara back in 2005. Throughout my childhood and adolescence, I always had the inclination that I wanted to serve in the military in some capacity. I felt that I needed to give back to our country, which I had been lucky enough to be born in, our country which granted me and each of us so many opportunities. I've been able to travel fairly extensively, either afforded to me by the Air Force or being able to afford to travel because of the Air Force. Due to the experiences, sights, sounds, and knowledge gleaned from these journeys, I have found that my youthful understanding of how many opportunities and how good we have it here in the United States was severely underestimated. These travels have only reinforced my opinion that the U.S. is the best country in the world in which to live. Alas, we do have our own issues, but they are not ones which cannot be overcome, nor ones which are as dire as many I have seen elsewhere. I was in middle school September 11, 2001, and those events solidified my desire to give back and defend our nation. I went to the University of Wisconsin, where I was part of the Reserve Officer Training Corps, and after 4 years, earned my undergraduate degree and was commissioned a second lieutenant. Then it was off to pilot training and multiple operational assignments flying various aircraft throughout the world. During my time in the military, I have found, unfortunately, that the truth is there are many of those who wish to do harm to our country and its citizens, to prevent us from living as we currently do. Whether it is differences in ideologies, the belief that we have here in the United States that everyone should have the right to pursue happiness while living in a land with liberty and justice for all, or other motivations, the U.S. will continue to need its citizens to volunteer and become service members to defend our liberties. Without the past and continued sacrifices of veterans, we would not have the rights and freedoms that we often take for granted today. Currently, less than 1% of the population is serving in the military, and all veterans account for less than 7% of the total U.S. population. Today is about honoring those men and women who have put on the uniform in the past and the present. Take a look around the halls. There are numerous throughout our community who have done so. When you can, take some time to talk with a veteran. Hear their story. Each service member has their own tale to tell, and most will be happy to speak with you about their experiences. Regardless of which branch of the military, what job they did, each veteran has served as part of something greater than themselves and have helped uphold the values that the United States stands for. America is truly the beacon of liberty and democracy in the world. Without our veteran service, we would not have maintained that position through our history. One of the three core values of the Air Force is service before self. To me, what that means is sacrifice. Due to deployments and other such military necessities, I have missed many funerals, weddings, birthdays, and anniversaries. I don't wish to miss any, but I knew that going into service, this would be part of the weight of the uniform. Luckily, no service member is alone during their time in the military. Each service member's mother, father, sister, brother, wife, husband, and child takes on the sacrifices and helps shoulder the burden of what it means to serve. Their support and resilience provide the crucial foundation that each service member relies upon. So thank you to all the families of veterans. I would like to end with one last thanks to all of those among us who have served and defended this beautiful nation. Your service has helped keep our country and its citizens safe and free. If you're able, please stand to be recognized. All the veterans out there, I know that you're out there. Thank you all again, and God bless the USA.
Thank you, Major Breuer. You are an inspiration, and we are so appreciative that you took the time to be with us today. Here to acknowledge those who have helped the post reach their 100-year milestone is the commander of Post 136, Steve Wescher. Please join me in welcoming Steve Wescher.
As they've already said, this is our 100th year in existence for our post, so we'd like to present a few presentations. I'd like to recognize our State Vice Commander, Jerry Swires. Second District Vice Commander, Terry Quasso. Debbie Thomas, excuse me, our 9th District Commander. And Representative Jeff Musa. I would now like to turn the podium over to our 9th District Commander, Debbie Thomas.
First of all, congratulations to Post 136 on their 100-year anniversary from the 9th District. I am going to present a plaque to, where's the plaque? Ah, okay. I'm going to present to Senator Mary Fikalski, and in her place, Representative Mursaw. And they are giving her this award for the many Wisconsin laws you have sponsored to support veterans.
Thank you, everybody. On Mary's behalf, she graciously accepts this award, and I will certainly get it to her. She regrets she has to be in Madison today, and she's got a number of meetings that she's going through today. So with that, I just would like to, on her behalf, say thank you very much.
Is this the one for me? And my last award is to the school superintendent, Nate Berklin, for the school administration and school board for their tremendous support for our veterans and providing us with the Hall of Heroes. Thank you. Excuse me.
I got a couple more awards, yeah. We have many members of the American Legion that serve even more than just our Post 139. I would like to recognize at this point Carl Kren for serving on the VA Hospital Committee, the many hours spent at the VA hospital and being our liaison to the VA. Thank you, sir. I took over not quite a year ago as post commander. Prior to that, thank you, Mike LaQuay, who's now our membership committee, was the previous commander. I would like to present a certificate of appreciation to Mike LaQuay.
Thank you, buddy.
Have a good one. We could not have successfully completed this program without the help of 3 sister clubs or Legion posts. I'd like to recognize Iron Mountain, Post 50, and also Norway Post 145 and Kingsford Post.
Post 50.
Thank you.
145. Thank you.
Thank you. When I call the following names, please hold your applause until the final name is called. We'd like to give special mention to several people. Donna Moreau for making the Veterans Day program, and assistants Betsy Hartwig and Ben Lerman. Jeff Swanson and his class for making the frames for our Wall of Heroes. Denise Eichender for matting and getting the pictures in the frames. And our coordinator at school, Carrie Orech, and Claire Barney for starting the picture idea, expanding the program into what it is today, and maintaining the Veterans Day program for many years. Would the people that I just called please stand to be recognized? I would now like to call up Representative Jeff Merso.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to be at the ceremonies this morning. And I tell you, I bet you there's a whole bunch of really proud parents in these bleachers this morning from that wonderful group of young individuals on the other side that put on an amazing program. It brings a tear to your eye. But you know, and the reason we're here today is to thank our veterans. And I just would like to say, let's please not just think of today as the day we thank our veterans. Let's thank them every day that we can throughout the whole year. Because we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all their sacrifices. But I'd just like to take in, for the 100th anniversary, Senator Velskowski and myself, we are going to present a citation, which is a citation of award from the state, and I'd like to read that at this time. 100th anniversary of the American Legion Post 136. Whereas in the years of 1918, at the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month, an armistice was declared which ended the fighting during World War I. And whereas in 1919, President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed November 11th as Armistice Day, which was later changed to Veterans Day in 1954, honoring American veterans of all wars. And whereas since its creation in December of 1922, American Legion Post 136 of Niagara has taken on the role of celebrating our veterans and giving back to our community by maintaining the veterans section of the Niagara Cemetery, providing flags to the area and cemetery services for veterans, and sponsoring the Badger Boys and Badger Girls State Camp and the American Legion baseball team. And whereas on this Veterans Day, we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the American Legion Post 136 in Niagara, Wisconsin. Now, let it therefore be resolved that Senator Mary Felskowski and Representative Jeff Mursa do hereby recognize and offer their most sincere gratitude and congratulations to the American Legion Post 136 on their 100th anniversary and for their outstanding commitment to community service, and to honor our veterans who selflessly gave so much to our state and our country. Thank you very much.
The high school band will now perform the songs for each branch of service. Veterans who are present, we will ask that you stand and be acknowledged when your branch's song is played. If you are a veteran or currently serving in the Navy, please rise. If you are a veteran or currently serving in the Army, please stand to be recognized. If you are a veteran or currently serving in the Marines, please stand. If you are a veteran or currently serving in the Air Force, please stand. Thank you, Mrs. Yeager and the band, for that wonderful performance. Thank you, veterans, for your service and for being with us here today. We are deeply honored by your presence. Before we leave and conclude this ceremony, we'd like to take a moment to silently reflect upon the sacrifices made by our military veterans and families. Please join me in this moment of silence. We will now have the playing of taps.
We're going to have Ondar step in because we missed the calling of the veterans' names. So we'll have Ondar step in at this time. Okay?
Okay. He's got this. I was looking for him. And he knows the... Okay.
He can step in now. He'll step in now.
We would now like to take the time to acknowledge each of the veterans with us today. Veterans, please stand when your name is called. Audience, please hold your applause till all of the names have been read. Don Schroeder of the Army, please rise. Bruce La Liberte of the Army. Ken Van Abel of the Army. Ben Lucas of the Army. Ronald Johnston of the Air Force. Alan Dunlap of the Army. Anthony Westrich of the Marine Corps. Stephen Wesher of the United States Air Force. Jordan Whitlow of the Army. Greg Holmes of the Army. Scott Hedgie of the Air Force. Dan Trulock of the Army. Dennis Lynch of the Marine Corps. Ray Howen of the Navy. Abel Murray of the Air Force. Glenn Lantang of the United States Marine Corps. Dan Rekla of the Navy. William B. Smith of the Navy. Suzanne Jedvik of the Air Force. Jerry Jedvik of the Army. Debbie Thomas of the Air Force. Terry Quatso of the Air Force. Jack Rowlands of the Navy. Grace Murray of the Air Force. Roger Allen of the Army. Phil House of the Army. Carl Klein of the Navy. Robert Massicotti of the Navy. Jim Richards of the Coast Guard. Tom Kawakowski of the Army. Sam Lerned of the Army. Fernand Ethington of the Army. Thomas Acto of the Marine Corps. Jacob Breuer of the Air Force. Carl Lamoureux of the U.S. Army. Beaver Towns of the Army. Jeff Zwires of the Army. Paul Westrich of the Navy. Tricia Westrich of the Army. Roy Breuer of the Army. Ed Sergi of the Air Force. And Brian Duncan of the United States Marine Corps. Nick Buckland of the Air Force. And Gerald Townsend of the Army. And Wayne Thomas of the Marine Corps and the Navy. Carl Plank of the Army. And finally, if we missed any of your names, we ask that you may also rise and be recognized. Thank you, veterans, for your service and for being with us today. We are deeply honored by your presence. Before we leave, we would like to take a moment to silently reflect upon the sacrifices made by our military veterans. Color Guard, please prepare to retire the colors. Students and guests, as the colors are retired, please remember to stand with your right hand over your heart. Please be respectfully quiet and reflect upon the service of our veterans. Thank you, Color Guard. Audience, you may be seated. This concludes the 2022 School District of Niagara Veterans Day program. Thank you for coming. We'd like to invite our guests to visit our Hall of Heroes, located in the hallway near the district office, which can be accessed through the theater. We have sandwiches, coffee, and cookies, compliments of Mrs. Lundeen and her cooking staff for our guests. If you know of any service members who are not featured in the hall, please let the district office know. Guests, you may exit first.